to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Celebrate yourself. No one has any idea what it takes to be you.
And Dale Hummel.
Do speak up and be heard. Do not always expect others to do it for you.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello. You only get one hello today because it's too early.
It is early. The downside about doing it this early, Ryan, you realize that our Sleepy Joe president has a press conference this afternoon.
No, I don't know anything about Joe Biden other than...
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it after he has it, but I have a pretty good idea how it's going to go.
Well, all I know about Joe Biden is he thinks George Floyd's death is more significant than Martin Luther King's assassination.
Yes, he does. Somebody thinks, Oz thinks that anyway. And it's conveyed.
That's all I know about Joe Biden. I'm not talking about him anymore after that. Sorry. Next.
Well, I am going to bring up that the Biden and the Chameleon, they're reversing their 2021. Their 2022, it appears as though they're coming out in a public press conference, things that just didn't happen before. They were in hiding. I have news for them. I think the more they're out in public, the worse it's going to get for them. I think they're better off going back into hiding, even though that doesn't appear to be working.
Nothing is working for them. Everything he tries to get passed, to get shut down. He says he's going to do executive orders, but then they say that those won't work. So I don't know. I think this is the most inept administration we've ever seen.
It is in my lifetime, since I've been paying attention to it. I can't speak for before that, but it's hard for me, in all seriousness, it's hard for me to put into words all of the problems and issues that are there. And for some reason, I don't get the feeling that the average person or the public in general comprehends just how inept this administration is.
If they're not paying attention, they're probably not.
No, but I don't even know that you'd have to pay attention. Look at your gas prices, look at inflation, look at the ball drop on getting COVID tests or getting monoclonal antibodies out to hospitals that need it. Just there's so many things that even if they're not paying attention, they have to be feeling it at this point. So maybe the only upside, and I don't like this, the only upside is it's so bad that there will be a political swing in the fall in terms of our elections. And let's hope that fixes it. And I don't think all of the Republicans by any means are perfect. They have a lot of issues. But it's a better situation than maybe where we're in right now.
It can't get worse.
You know what I feel very angry about?
I have no idea.
The Olympics in Beijing. I've known they were going to be there for a long time. Why am I just now becoming the most angry about it?
I have no idea because this was happening for multiple years now.
Yeah, I've known this was going to happen. I guess it comes down to so many things. If I think about why the All-Star game, the baseball game, was moved out of Atlanta for bullshit reasons, woke reasons that had no justification. We have the Chinese committing, I guess, acts of crime, human rights violations off the charts, everything that we supposedly stand against, yet we allow them to host the Olympics and have this huge propaganda push in a positive for China, because if they're hosting the Olympics, well, they must not be that bad of a country. And it's terrible. You're hearing more about the Uyghurs. And I'm going to be the first to admit, I was uneducated about the Uyghurs. And this is a sect of people in China, Muslim-based, that have been so suppressed. Over 1.5 million of them are in basically labor concentration camps for no apparent reason. The Chinese Communist Party talks about them being an extreme element, and I don't know what they are or aren't. But most of the information that I gather, it's basically racism. And I'm the last one to ever want to use that word. But this sect of population has really been beaten down. I'm not going to say to Holocaust levels, but it's bad. It's really, really bad. And you're starting to hear a little more about it. And it's just a simple fact that there's no question China is going to take over Taiwan, that their human rights abuses every day beyond what they're doing to the Uyghurs and some of the other sects in their country. And yet we continue to have sponsorship of supposed woke companies in this country, giving them money for the Olympics, sponsoring, allowing these events to happen. I'm just done with it. I have always been, as everybody that listens knows, very anti-China, but it just frustrates me, and the NBA maybe the most. And it appears though they benefit from the Chinese as much or more than what they do right here in country in terms of financial gain. So they will cater to them the most. Yet they're the ones that come out and protest and complain about any little thing here in this country that really is not just comparatively speaking. So I get cranky about that. So I apologize, but those things are bothering me.
Do you feel better now?
No, not a lot. But yeah, I mean, from the standpoint that I hope that one person out there listening that was unaware of this is now aware of it. So under that, I feel better. How about you? Have you heard the name Sean Jamal Smith?
No.
Came out this morning. That would be the suspect in the stabbing of the graduate student in the furniture store in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. This was a crime that seems senseless. I have not heard that there was any money taken or anything. Just a person enters a store, a graduate student's in there working alone, stabs her to death, leaves, and goes on about their way. Well, they do have video of this person. They've appeared to have identified this person. I do not believe they've apprehended him yet. He's got a long rap sheet. I think 12 plus arrests in maybe North Carolina, South Carolina, in just one state alone. He's supposedly out right now on a $1,000 bond. This person has committed enough crimes that they should never be walking the streets, period. Yet they are, and then look what happens. So it's crazy to me. We have laws in the books that our prosecutors are not enforcing. Talk about that. Talk about the border laws that are on the books that we're not enforcing. When we get to this point that we are right now, we're brazen the criminals to do whatever they want. And we're feeling the impact of it. And that poor family that lost that daughter, that sister, that loved one is paying the ultimate price for it. And yet, as a society, we just continue to go on about our day and not stand up and say, hey, it's time to enforce the laws in the books, and this is crap. We're trying to protect the criminal element more than we are the victims. And this is very, very concerning to me. I think about it in a manner, someone like this man that stabbed this young lady to death, Sean Smith, he's got such a long rap sheet. If I use an example, many years ago, I spent a little bit of time in Singapore. And I don't know if this is true or not, but the taxi cab driver explained to me that there is zero crime, basically, in Singapore. And he also explained the reason for that was if you spit gum on the sidewalk, you're going to be caned. Imagine what they do over a crime like this. So I think maybe follow their example. There is no question that if we impose severe violations, that they do act as deterrents. When we don't enforce the laws that are on the books, the criminals become more brazen. I think under situations where there's no question this act or this crime was committed, this person committed the crime, as painful of a punishment as we can possibly impose with the least cost to tax dollars. What would that be, Ryan?
I'm sure you have an answer for this, Dale. You've thought way too much about this.
I am not going to give it, though, because I think it would incriminate me.
You going to shoot him in the kneecap?
Nope, I'd go beyond that if it was a serious crime.
Oh.
Minor crimes, kneecap. But then you put him on some type of disability and we pay for him that way. So no, I'm going to leave it right there and leave it alone. But you can just envision whatever you'd like.
Well, isn't that lovely of you?
Yeah, but I am
just leaving our listeners in the dark.
Well, do you not think that if we had some form of deterrent, if they were going to be held accountable to a severe level, that maybe that would change how people thought about committing a crime?
I think it would.
Yeah, it seems simple to me. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm way off here, but it seems very simple.
You're not talking about the Supreme Court?
I was very happy with the Supreme Court on one level, and that was obviously Biden's mandate that any company over 100 employees would have to enforce, OSHA would enforce vaccinations. That has been shot down. However, they did leave it in play that healthcare workers are required to get vaccinations, and their justification was it's federally funded at some level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't like it.
At least they did something.
Yeah, they did.
Correctly.
And I think Oz is aware that a lot of these mandates that Joe puts out there is going to get shut down at some point. So I am confused on why we continue with it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's to try to appease the far left, and it appears that's very high on Oz's agenda. I
think that you are neglecting your boy Schumer, who is having a meltdown.
I try to avoid listening to him, and I have not. His meltdown is over not being able to manipulate the Senate.
I think it's basically over. He can't get any of Biden's stuff passed, personally. So,
and it doesn't look like that he's going to get the filibuster, from what I can tell.
From what I understand, the two bills, the voting right bills that Miss Pelosi's idiots over there in Congress passed, they're not going to pass in the Senate. So now he wants the filibuster taken out, and he's prepared to do the nuclear option, but that's not going to work either. And yet he is going to charge through with this anyway, because he wants everyone to go on the record about it.
I can see that very clearly. He would want to do something like that. It's amazing to me. And okay, Martin Luther King Day, yesterday, this week, Monday of this week, we celebrated. Isn't it interesting how the far left brings out everything about voting rights at that time? And we talk about a bill for voting rights. Well, that sounds pretty harmless. Sounds good, actually, doesn't it? We want voting rights. But when you stop and dissect it and get past the label, this was all about the fact that the conservative branch of our government and many of the Republicans in government would prefer to show a photo ID or a photocopy of your ID to vote by mail or to vote in person. That's all they're asking for, is some form of ID to vote. Those same crazy bastards on the left require a damn vaccination card to get into McDonald's in New York as far as a form of identification or proof that you've been vaccinated, yet we can't provide anything to have to go vote. It blows my mind. And for those that are not paying attention, just hear about a voting rights bill, well, you'd all be in favor of anything that was positive for voting rights, but nobody talks about the fact this is a total bullshit bill. This is nothing more than trying to get people through the voting process that have no citizenship, that have no ID, that have nothing. I see nothing racist about it. I see nothing. It's very clear to me that if you're going to vote in this country, you should be a citizen and you should follow all of the rules and regulations that are afforded to somebody that can be allowed to vote. Prove that through some form of picture ID. I'm perfectly fine. It doesn't seem like we're asking too much.
Yeah, I don't know how having an ID is now racist, but there you go. That's wild.
I think the statement or the assumption that it is racist that you can't photocopy an ID or have an ID, I think that's the racist part. I turn it completely around. And there is so much, there's such a huge push. And I visited with a very close friend that I consider extremely intelligent yesterday in depth. This individual thoughts are that maybe the left isn't as ignorant as I portray them to be, but rather that divisive, that they're trying to put that much divide into our country between the right and the left and cause as much of an issue as they possibly can for their end gain, which I don't know how that all works out. But if I stop and look at the big picture, everything that the Biden administration and the extreme left is doing, it does appear to be dividing the country. I mean, we've known this, but if I look at it deeper, maybe it is orchestrated. What about the CDC coming out, I believe yesterday, Ryan, and making the suggestion to eliminate all high school sports because of COVID?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but you told me that that's not going to go over well. And I am not a sports enthusiast by any means, but wow. I think...
Yeah, you know that the red states aren't going to do it. But our school, my kids are back, have been out of school since last Thursday. They're finally back in today. And that was more staffing problems with staff out with COVID than, I believe, a political stunt. However, there are schools all over Illinois that are shutting down, and I don't doubt that the liberal states may follow the CDC recommendation. There just seem to be that absolute that if they say it, we're doing it. And you're right. Do you not think this is going to cause a huge divide? Oh, it'd get brutal if they start doing it.
Yeah, I don't think that was I mean, I don't know many smart decisions that the CDC has had since Rona, but that was literally in the top 10 of this is bad. Bad.
Yeah, it's not gonna go well. There's some, speaking of crazy liberals, California comes to mind. I noticed that they have a proposal for universal state health care. It doesn't matter whether you're illegal or legal citizen of the state of California, you automatically will get health care. The cost of this per household is an additional $12,500 a year.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. Do you think there's people leaving California right now? And there has been. It's very documented. People are flocking.
And they're all coming to my state.
States. A lot of them are coming to Texas, and I don't know if that's. I assume the ones leaving are a little more conservative. I hope so. Maybe you'll be okay. I don't want them to leave California, bring some of those crazy ass ideas with them, and try to change Texas. And I'm not so sure that's not happening in Austin.
I was perfectly happy when Daddy James left California to come here, but I'm not sure about these other people. Okay, I'm being honest. I judged a county fair. Actually, I judged the Travis County Fair, which is the county fair that Austin is located in.
Oh, my.
They could not have their event at the normal venue that they did, so we had to move it a little further south. But the amount...
This was recently?
Yes, Saturday.
In the state of Texas, there's a county fair that still had to move to hold their show.
Yes.
That is sad.
Anyway, the amount of Biden-Harris bumper stickers I saw in the Austin vicinity, Lord, help me. Oh.
Doesn't it just hit you to your core?
Oh, they were everywhere.
I want to get out and physically
shake them.
Beat the person that put that. Yeah, I do. I shouldn't say that, and I'm offending some people, but I have that rage that I feel when I see those.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good for me. Like, if I did not love my car as much, I probably would have used it as a battering ram. But anyhow, we made it through and back north, but not a good situation. I want to go on the record, and I want to say that Dale was right, because he doesn't get to be right often. And so I, being the very gracious person that I am,
I don't even know what you're talking about this time.
I would like to admit when Dale's right, because he's wrong most of the time. So when he's right, I will give him credit for it.
What was it this time?
Evidently, when you stated last week that everyone in Oklahoma City and Arizona, and now I'm assuming the National Western and Fort Worth, have Rona, I guess you're right, because I am now hearing this. Again, I have not been sick. I have not anything, but a large, very large number of the people that have been to these events have gotten home and either tested positive for COVID, yada, 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 da, da. And so I thought you were just, a little bit of an alarmist last week. And so evidently I was wrong. You were right. Congratulations, Tim.
Well, thank you. And you realize that it's not that you didn't have COVID. For some reason, your genetic makeup, blood type, whatever it is, you just are asymptomatic. You would test positive probably if tested. But I think what I saw at Arizona National and Cattlemen's Congress and obviously the National Western and Fort Worth now, Omicron, we know how contagious it is. There is no way to avoid it. In hindsight, I'm 90% sure that I had COVID picked up COVID the first day or so at Arizona National, and I'm going to apologize for all of those out there because I did not go lock myself in the hotel. I thought I had a cold, maybe a sore throat, not sure what I had. But whether I would have or not, there was no way to avoid getting this, and there still isn't for those that haven't. The only way you're going to avoid it at this point is if I had it recently. Not a vaccination, but that specific Omicron virus itself, that form of it. In my opinion, that's going to give you some antibodies to get by for however long. But it doesn't appear the vaccination is going to stop you. Hopefully it lessens the effect. It's amazing to me. And I am concerned about one thing that I want to bring up about COVID. In a normal, naturally occurring virus situation where this would have came out of the wet market from a bat to a human or something more naturally occurring, not man manipulated, if that was the case, if it came naturally occurring from an animal to a person, the stage that we're in right now with Omicron is a blessing because it's not as harmful to most people. And again, I'm not trying to belittle the fact that some people are going to die from it and have died from it. But relative to other strains, this one is not going to hit everybody as hard, and it's going to provide natural antibodies that are 14 times greater than what you get from the vaccine. So in theory, this is going to cover most of the world because it's that contagious, and we're going to be in good shape at least for a few months or however long our antibodies hold up. However, here's the doomsday side of it. Because I know this came out of Wuhan lab, I know that it's been manipulated. There is no precedent. I don't think anybody can tell us right now how this virus is going to continue to mutate and continue to affect our world because, to my knowledge, this is the first man-manipulated virus that has escaped or been placed into the population. So I'm concerned. That basically the statement I'm giving is, under natural occurring events, I think we're in great shape with COVID. Because it was man-manipulated, I have no idea what direction it's going to go from here.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry for being negative about that one, Ryan. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been an eventful week or so, and I've been away from the news more than I've been in it, trying to play catch up from being gone. And Ryan just got home, yesterday?
Yes, last night was the first night I slept in my house since 2022.
And how was it?
It was fine.
Sheree did not remodel your bedroom or anything?
They still got to get their house finished, but mine's next. Yeah, it's going to be great.
No, I don't. I sense some sarcasm there.
The most sarcasm.
You think your house is just fine as is?
Well, since I'm not here hardly much at all, yeah, I think it works perfectly fine. But
Do we have like hot and cold running water? Do we have a toilet? We have something to cook in a refrigerator?
No, but I went to the grocery store last night, so.
That's good. That is good. Well, are you done with your current events? I don't know that I'm sure that we could go on much longer, but
I'm done.
We probably ought to get to the main topic. And before we move in to the main topic, it's real. It's revolutionary. It will find its way to every state fair and junior national in the country. It is the Boxel Chiller. It's cold. It's portable. It blows air. We talk about keeping our stock 100%. While traveling to shows and while at the shows, in many states, summer heat is probably our biggest battle of anything with our show animals. The Boxel Chiller can drop temperatures at home, in the trailer, and at the show. For more information, go to boxelmfg.com. There you'll find contact information for Mr. Boxel and the Boxel crew, and they'd be happy to explain the new Boxel Chiller. You'll hear much more about this in the very near future. Ryan, I have my order in for a Boxel Chiller.
Oh, that's good.
It's like just taking your cooler with you.
Sounds like it.
Taking it on the road. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it, but I am sure if you've ordered one, then you have researched it the most and are, because this man doesn't spend money unless he believes in it.
No,
So.
I do not like to spend money. So I have discussed it in detail and even given my input and suggestions on how to make it the best it can be. And they're trying
So this is actually the Boxel Hummer chiller.
No. I've given input pretty much after they've already developed the whole thing.
Okay. Well,
Is there a minor change here or there? And a lot of times what I throw
I think
out
your
there,
name should go on it since you're the architect.
No. I wish I would have the foresight and the engineering ability to develop something like this, but I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the concept, and it's not something that's easy to do. When you think about like the swamp coolers or evaporative coolers that are pushing cooler air by running water through it, we get a lot of humidity with that. And with humidity, we come with higher ambient temperatures. This is a complete dry, non-humid air drop in temperature. So in theory, this is going to be really, really good. I'm sure that they're still perfecting the little things that they need on that. I don't know when the first ones will get shipped, but I think we're close. And they said it was time to announce that it exists.
Lovely.
It is. It's exciting. And that's something that, wow, if all goes well and it performs as it appears to do in their prototype testing, it's going to be good. Our main topic comes from Ryan.
Would you just hold on? You think that you're the only one that has things to say here?
Oh, go.
So, as far as the BTRJLA of it all goes, I do have, we have new sponsors, and I have their logo.
Why have you not talked about them?
I have their logo. I have the graphics made up. I do not have what they want said about these lovely companies yet. And so this isn't going to count towards, their spots or whatever, but I do want to say thank you to McCrew Equipment for being the National Pig sponsor, to Crownstone Awards and Stock Show Auctions as well, because they have both become national top 10 sponsors for the awards. And so we will have more information about them. This will go out on social media, all this other stuff. I just don't have the text of exactly what they want said about their company, and we're working on getting that. But I did want to thank them for their sponsorship and let y'all know that there are points up on the BTRJLA already. We've had more shows come in that we are getting those points up. We are getting Cattlemen's Congress points up. We are getting National Western points up. There should be an update by the end of the week, and there will be an update to the calendar, hopefully by the end of this week or the first of next week. So that's the BTRJLA of it all for this week.
That is exciting that points are up, Ryan, and I've been getting a lot of text about, is this show sanctioning or not? And I continue to tell them it's very simple. I don't know. I don't have that list in front of me. You can contact Ryan. He can probably tell you, but it's very simple. Contact your show manager, and if they're not sanctioned, say, here's your form. I'll text you a link. Fill out this simple form, and you're sanctioned. No cost, no problems, easy. So there's no reason anybody going to a show that's a member and wants points, contact that show ahead of time, preferably. Even if the day you show up, if that works, that's fine. Just encourage them to do it. There's no logical reason they won't do it for you. So in essence, every show in the country is obviously capable of sanctioning with no issues at all. There's no cost. There's no reason not to. So let's assume if you want that show sanctioned and you are a member and you're going to that show, step up and just say, hey, can we get this sanctioned? Here's the form. Real simple.
Yep. That's all it takes. You gotta fill out a form and email your results once the show is over. And we have had, I had 5 people yesterday, and we have sanctioning forms and memberships coming in every single day. But I had 5 people yesterday about different shows that either they reached out to them or I did. And, all those shows are on board. So, again, if you're going to a show this weekend and you don't see it on the calendar, they can still be sanctioned. All you have to do is get them to fill out the form and send the results. So
yeah, it's not difficult. There's not a show that I've contacted Ryan and asked, hey, here's the form. Can you fill it out so we can get you sanctioned? None of them had said no because there's no downside.
No, I agree.
So instead of messaging me or Ryan, is this show sanctioned or not? It's real simple. Call that show manager, text that show manager, email, whatever it is, or when you show up that morning, say, hey, let's get this sanctioned so we can get points for it. We'd love to have some points. It's real simple.
Next.
The topic that Ryan came up with probably 6 months ago. Is that a fair assessment?
It was a while.
Yep, it's been on the list. Ryan, I lose the list among the text, and I don't know how he continues to be able to go back and find it. But I say, Ryan, I'm out of topics, and you say, well, I sent you a list. And I said, we have to resend it. He resends it. And what happens is I continue to pick from this list, so there are some that do get overlooked for whatever reason. This one, I guess it seems very simple now, but I wasn't real sure what direction he was wanting to go. Now that I know what direction.
You can go any direction you wanted to.
That is, well, you said we couldn't go in the personal side.
Well, yeah, you can do that too. Go right ahead.
Related. Okay. The topic name is do's and don'ts. Ryan, please.
Again, this is probably going to be real basic in general, but I think there is a lot of things that we may talk about in question and answer, or may come up or whatever, but just general stuff that do this, don't do this. And normally they kind of go hand in hand. But I guess just one of the ones for me here lately, because we dealt with this personally the past couple of weeks when we were at Cattlemen's Congress, and I think Daddy James will probably never not adhere to this again. Do take a generator to a stock show. Don't just think
this is not fair.
Don't just think that you're going to have power.
Daddy James is not here to defend himself.
No, but I told him to take a generator before he left, so.
There's a lot of power outlets at Oklahoma City.
I know. There was a lot of freaking cows in Oklahoma City that needed power, too. You had a generator.
We had 2.
Okay, so
Actually.
there you go.
And there's certain times we did not need to use it, but yeah, it's just almost a given anymore. And when we continue to come out with like
That's not just at Cattlemen's Congress. That's every show, people.
It is a lot of the goat shows that we go to, because we're inside and we can't get access outside, like at Kansas City or somewhere. We may not be able to use a generator, but most of the cattle I can't say I know any cattle shows where you can't at least run a long extension cord to get to a generator outside. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
There may be some.
Again, there are shows that don't allow them, but if they allow you to take a generator, it is wise to have one.
Yes. I don't see many generators at Houston in the Goat and Lamb Barn.
No, they're not allowed.
It has something to do with maybe you can't use corded clippers or blowers or anything that takes electricity. Maybe that should be the new rule. Cannot use anything that requires electricity.
Let's not make that a do. Let's not. No.
No. That's a don't.
That's a don't. Yeah.
I believe at Houston though we can use cordless clippers.
Yes, you can use cordless.
You want to explain that to me?
No, I don't understand it.
Maybe it's just power cords and getting in the way of.
I think when we have those rules at major shows here in Texas, that is what it is. It's cords and all this other stuff, because I know that San Antonio and Houston, you can only use cordless clippers.
Correct. And there is some confusion about that, because sometimes when you use cordless clippers, you get reported for using clippers, and it's kind of a mess. But I think, what is different, and for those that don't attend the Texas majors, there is a lot of people in the barns, not only the families that are showing and the exhibitors, but people, friends, family, a lot more people come to the shows. And it is a matter of congestion. Let's go to address issues at shows directly with show management in a professional manner to help implement doing better. In other words, if you've gone through the show and you were not happy with how this was handled or that was handled or something, the normal thing to do is to complain to other exhibitors or complain to your family on the way home. Let's just take a deep breath and think about a logical way to present that to show management so they can do better. There's my do.
Have you done this recently, Dale?
Yes, I have actually. I have not had the meeting yet, but I have everything in line to do this for a couple shows actually.
Good for you, sir.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way. The shows that I will approach with suggestions are normally the ones that are user friendly and willing to make those changes. Now there are some shows that I go to that if I think there's no chance that or no benefit of me saying something, I will leave it alone. In there for various reasons, but if I'm coming to a show and making a suggestion, it's in essence a lot because I feel like they're going to actually implement some of those suggestions or at least consider them.
Do you have a don't or you just a do? You're just a doer, Dale. That's you.
Oh, we can turn it a lot of different directions. One of the we're going to bounce around a lot here. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen, and not as much the past year or so, but in lamb and goats in particular, if we're trying to pull bellies off them to get that fill right for the show, we oftentimes restrict water much more than we should. And my don't is let's not restrict water more than just a few hours before the show. Anytime we're doing this, we're pulling water out of that animal. 80% of muscle is water, guys. And more times than not in lambs and goats, we'd like to maintain as much muscle as possible. Let's pull feed back a little bit. Let's do other things other than just pulling that water bucket out and giving them just a little bit via drench gun to try to keep that belly in check. Because in all essence, if I want to bring a belly down, I'm going to load them with water the night before and allow that water to help push rate of passage and push all the feed material through that animal just a little bit faster. How's that for a don't?
There you go. Well, I have another don't. Well, it's my turn now. This is about taking turns.
All right, go.
So one of my do's is I think that, and like this topic for me, again, we're going to go bounce around and do lots of things. But for me, I'm going to, my next couple of things, I'm just going to kind of aim at like improving stock show atmosphere. And so one of my things is I think that you should go congratulate the people that win and clap for the people that win. We haven't been on this a while, but it's not getting better. But
but when we were on it for a little while hard, it got better.
It did not get better for me. I'm just telling you.
I definitely saw it get better. Not. But in general, you're right. I can think back. I don't know how many years to go back, Ryan, and I'm very, very old. So maybe this is way back. But I remember those kids that were winning, there would be a line of people to congratulate them or shake their hand, and there'd be everybody clapping for them, and it's gone. It's just gone. I don't see it like that anymore.
Yeah. And so I am as competitive person as there are, and I do not like getting beat. I will tell you up front, I do not like getting beat. But I also do go congratulate the people that win, because that is their day, that is their moment. I try to clap every single time somebody else wins. I do. Even if it's people I don't like, if they win the show, I clap. I think that's part of it. And I mean, just kind of how it is. And on the same token, don't get on social media and talk about how you robbed or the judge screwed you over or terrible animal won the show, yada, 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 all that. Because that doesn't do anything. And I'm also going to say this, and this is going to get some hate mail, and it's fine. I don't care. I don't know who came up with this idea to put on social media that their animal was the crowd favorite, but it's a bunch of bullshit.
You're sure of that, aren't you?
No, there is no crowd vote. And like this has died down a little bit, but it got so bad in the pig barn in Texas that at one of my mom's shows, I think it was the Fall Classic, that actually the guy that was chairman of the pig show, he actually did have a crowd favorite vote, and we made a banner because we were making fun of this so much. But like, there is no crowd favorite at 99.9% of the shows. And just because somebody came up to you and told you that they liked your animal better than the one, that does not make you the crowd favorite.
No, it doesn't. But in that emotional state that we all get into, when we do get a comment from one person, I can see how it's taken that way. I don't agree with it, but I can see how it happens. That's interesting. And I remember seeing that a lot. And I do see a lot of times, and this is maybe a more sincere version of it, but you'll see a post that maybe we didn't do as well as we had wanted to do. And I think that's honest, and that's acceptable. But the
I don't
declaration,
like those either.
I know, but that's a lot better than saying, "Hey, we were the crowd favorite."
No, I mean, I just
and I think that's honest. I think a lot of people go to shows with huge expectations, and 90% of those expectations are not going to be met. Remember when we talked about setting realistic goals?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have to do that, but those of us across species that are traveling to most of the national shows, a large majority of us, including myself, when we're going, if we were taking the time and effort to make that trip, we sometimes have expectations that are very, very high. And those simply cannot be met statistically speaking. There's going to be $1,000 in each species. That's it in the market show. And you've got 100 people, maybe not 100, 50 people going that all think that they're probably got a very good chance at that. When in all actuality, statistically speaking, it's a tough go. Very difficult.
Your turn.
I have a do.
Oh, good.
Do everything possible. And Ryan and I talked about staying out at the barn at nights to try to prevent anything from happening. Do everything possible to leave zero room for error. And I haven't talked about zero room for error since the beginning of us starting this podcast, but I really try to instill into my children and even families that we work with, let's do everything possible to avoid anything that can go wrong, because there's still going to be things that go wrong that are out of our control. If we can do something within our control to try to prevent anything from happening or anything going negative towards that animal that we're trying to make look 100% in the show ring, it's almost this simple. Maybe this is too simplified. We usually have pretty good environment at home and that animal's acclimated to it and in good shape. if we can just make that animal look as good when it hits the ring as it did the day before we left for the show, we're doing pretty well. That seems like we always want them to look better than what they do at home, but I don't know how realistic that is. So let's not allow for any chance of error. Zero room for error, so let's implement that as best we can. If you think there's a chance something's going to go wrong, prevent it somehow. Do everything you can. In the big picture, if we go that extra 10% compared to all the time, the money, everything we've put into it, I think it is going to make for a better project. I am extremely anal. My anxiety levels are off the charts to where I need to medicate, and I need to get on that here, Ryan, if you don't mind reminding me about that.
I do every day, sir.
The next couple of days. So that feeds itself, that anxiety that I have and being so anal about the little things. I am overkill in that area, and it drives my family and our employees, everybody crazy. But I also attribute a lot of success because of it. Does that make sense, Ryan?
No, I'm all about the zero room for error. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of similarities, but I think if we were on the same team, on the same animal at a show, it would probably be me and you, and we would lose everyone else because we are dead on the same thing here. Like, we would have no showman, and you would be divorced and whatever else. But
yeah, no, that's about where it would end up.
But I completely agree with you.
Do you have any others? I have more.
Oh, yeah. And then again, this wasn't mine, but I'm going to steal it, but I'm going to give him credit. Mike McCoy of Real McCoy Genetics put something up about a week ago, and it's a long read, but it's a good read. I shared it on my personal Facebook. If you want to read it, you can go to Real McCoy Genetics Facebook and read it. And it was just kind of like hashtag improve the culture. But to sum it up, I think the do is lead by example at shows, act the way that you think you would want others to act towards you in all situations and circumstances. Be aware that people are watching you, regardless of who you are. Or there are eyes and ears everywhere at shows, and everyone is paying attention to what everybody does. And on a side note, there's lovely little things called cameras on your phone, and those help with taking pictures of what people are doing in videos. Just let it out there. But literally, put your best foot forward, lead by example, and be that person that you want everybody else to be at a stock show. And I think that's important. And the basis of his Facebook thing was, let's not go get into verbal and physical altercations with each other at shows for whatever reason. It's just not worth it. So that's a don't. Let's not do that.
I had a do that I took the opposite direction of that, very similar, Ryan, and I still want to hit it at least to a certain degree, because I think this is our most important do or don't right here, just what you talked about and what Mike McCoy talked about. And I saw that post, I think, on your Facebook feed, and it's a great read.
Yeah.
I would encourage any and everyone to go read that. So let's remember that many of us are raising children in this industry. We can all do better by leading by example, just as Ryan and Mike have stated. I hear many complain about the unethical practices that have gotten out of hand in our industry, and many people will place this on the shows to catch those that are doing the unethical, abusive practices to these animals, to the show stock. But placing our issues directly on show management to fix it is not realistic. It is simply passing the blame to the show.
Yeah, but they have a part in it.
They do have a part, and I think they have a critical part. But I think it's almost more important. I don't know about more important. It's equally as important that us as an industry cleans up our own act. And we can't just assume the show is going to be able to test and do everything they need. I think we need to provide the shows the knowledge and the resources to do the best they possibly can, and I expect them to implement such, and not only expect them to implement those testing, but when they get the results back, if they have a consultant like Matt Clays or others out there, and there's many of them in Texas, that can interpret those results and realize this isn't a low level that's contamination. This is truly performance enhancing, not just something that was done by mistake or accident or cross-contamination. anything that's not performance enhancing and at extremely low levels, that's crap. Let's ignore that. Let's not kick people out for that. But truly performance enhancing, the injection sites and the carcasses, all of these things are absolute no-brainers. And the shows damn sure need to enforce the rules that they have on the books and kick those exhibitors out at whatever they so deem prior to even the show, whether it's a 3-year suspension or life suspension, whatever that may be. So I think it's time to stand up and do what's right, set an example. If you're in this business, and especially if you're traveling to national shows, it's no big secret who the bad apples are and who are causing a lot of these issues. So let's make that choice as an industry to try to reel it in ourselves and not place all of the burden upon the shows. I think if we all work together, this works a whole lot better. And I can tell you right now, and my livelihood is derived from the stock show industry, a large portion of it. So I'm the last person that should be saying this. But I talk to enough people on a daily basis that are frustrated that doing it organically, playing by the rules, doing things the right way, the way we want to raise our children in this industry, that they can no longer win in the lamb and goat ring. And they're frustrated. And if we don't get back to an even playing field, those people are no longer going to be with us. And then we don't have the industry that has been so good to so many. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to fight against that. And all we're asking for is an even playing field. And if people feel like they have an even playing field to compete at the shows, they're going to continue to participate. We're going to continue to see all the good that comes from this industry. But we darn sure need to do everything we can to self-regulate. Don't expect it, just like in society. Let's not expect the government to have to come in and do everything for us. We can do it ourselves. It's not hard. All we have to do is open our eyes and think about it. If we would say your kids are grown and gone, if I would not have liked my children exposed to these people, then maybe you should avoid doing business with them. Or maybe we should do anything possible to push that aside so we're not exposing our children to such. A little bit of a rant, Ryan. Sorry.
The do's and don'ts, whatever. But like, I think this one right here, this kind of goes to the whole purpose that and I don't want to say it's been wearing on me, but like, we started this podcast to help improve junior livestock shows. And I know it has helped. I have seen the effects of it. I know that we have implemented change and stuff like that. I think because that has happened and people have seen that, now they expect us to do more, which is fine. We want to do more. We are doing more. But it is not just me and Dale that can do it. And this is the point that you bring up. Everyone has to come together and everyone has to want to make things change for the positive. Us talking about it starts the ball rolling, and we do talk about this to people outside, not just on the airwaves, people. When we see people that run shows and all this stuff, we address issues that we think, some of them we haven't even talked about on here. But we do take the time to talk to them, address issues, talk about what needs to change. But you as parents and exhibitors have to do it as well. It can't just be us. And then, just like I said when Dale said about the shows and the drug issues, it's up to the show too. It's going to take everybody. It can't just be us. It can't just be the parents and exhibitors. Show management, this podcast, us as individuals, and the parents, exhibitors, leaders, feeders, brokers, breeders. We all have to work together, and I maybe not work together, but we all have to be vocal about what we see as the hurdles and the roadblocks and the problems and the issues in junior livestock shows and livestock shows in general, and what we think can help improve and make those less for this industry to continue to thrive and survive.
Agreed 100%. And that you've taken another one of my do's. I have a little note here, Ryan, saying do not assume that Ryan and I can fix all that needs fixed in the industry. We will do all we can, and as Ryan just explained, we're doing it on and off the air. But the exhibitors, the families, you have the power. You have the power if you are to speak up and be heard. If everyone makes it an effort to do better, this industry will benefit greatly. And trust me, if the exhibitors would approach in a large number, if there's something wrong at a show, if the majority of the exhibitors would approach the management, they are going to make change. If one exhibitor approaches them, maybe. If 50 exhibitors approach them, absolutely. They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And Ryan and I get questions and are asked to bring certain things up all the time. There's, Ryan, a question and answer that I was looking at this morning that I'm not going to bring up today because it's dealing with part of this. Maybe later we'll bring it up in another episode. But we're asked to do a lot of these things, and that is why we're here. That is our goal for this podcast, is to make the junior livestock industry better. But we have to have you help. All we can do is encourage you to speak up and help. We can go behind the scenes and talk to show management. We can talk to those with influence. We can do those things, and we will continue to do those things. But I promise you, the single biggest way to make change is for the exhibitors at the grassroots level to speak up to show management in a professional manner and address the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, do you have any further do's or don'ts?
No, I mean, there's 9 million more that we could talk about, but
I have just maybe a couple that are one, I should say.
Okay.
That maybe we can do a little bit better, and it's all about doing better. When I talk about this issue with an even playing field, I think there are some good people that have decided to use the excuse that everyone else is doing it, so I have no choice but to join them. Do not do this. I know it's easy. I know our competitive nature pushes us that way, but I promise you, by doing things the right way, working that much harder, selecting that animal, breeding that animal, whatever it may be, that is the purpose of what we're doing, is instilling that work ethic and instilling a way to figure out how to feed better, how to manage better, all those things. By taking that simple shortcut through a beta agonist or through injectables, that is nothing more than a shortcut. That is not teaching you how to select better animals. It's not teaching you how to breed better animals. It's not teaching you how to feed and manage better animals. That is nothing more than a shortcut. And in life, when children are taught to take shortcuts, they're setting up a situation for disaster long term, because those shortcuts are going to bite you in the ass at some time. So do not use that excuse that everyone else is doing it, so I need to as well. That's the last one that I have, Ryan.
We could go on. This could be 4 episodes long, but I just thought that this was a nice one to start of the year, just kind of put some stuff out there to try to improve just mainly the atmosphere of stock shows and stuff like that. And so just some stuff to think on as we continue to go on. I mean, one of the biggest shows of the year has already happened. 2 of them are starting, but if you live in Texas and Oklahoma, you're just now getting revved up. And so, again, as we go through Texas major shows and OIE and all that, just think about things like this and continue to put your best foot forward.
No, and Ryan, I can't emphasize it more. And it's exciting that the Texas majors are getting started, and I'm going to get a chance to try to get down to most of those majors. If not myself, or our manager Craig or herdsman Tristan will be down there and into OIE. It's an exciting time of year, and it's a perfect time to try to implement Let's Do Better. Just do it. It's that simple. It is that time, Ryan.
Well, before we get to question and answer, I do want to give a shout out to one of our 2 corporate sponsors, Showcoat Solutions, huge benefactors of the BTRJLA, and their products are top-notch, champion approved for years. Showcoat manufactures the best award-winning livestock grooming products for show cattle, goat, horses, sheep, and swine. No matter where you are in the country and no matter what species you have in the barn, if you're looking for a winning edge, the advanced shag strategy developed by Showcoat Solutions will change your hair growing routine overnight. Their customer service is off the charts. They give step-by-step instructions. They have free application videos. You name it, they are here to help you succeed. Please give Showcoat and their company a look. And again, we really appreciate them for all that they've done for BTRJLA this year.
And Ryan, I think I can do just as well as that long read. We use Showcoat on our goats and our calves, and we're oftentimes asked, especially on the goat side, how do we get leg hair like that? How do we do all those things? I'm going to be the first to tell you that it's 90% genetic. Can we improve the condition of the hair? Can we train the hair? Can we do a lot of things that's going to make it look that much better? Absolutely. And I'm just going to come out. We use Show Coat, and it does do exactly that. We use it to train and condition the hair. If it improves any hair growth, great, but that's not what I'm relying on it for. But I can absolutely tell you from a training standpoint and hair health, I'm all in. How was that?
There you go.
Any others?
Nope.
Nope.
I said I'll get all this. I'll get together with these other ones that sponsored and get what they want put out about them. But yeah, I'm good for now. Thanks.
Got it. So as we move into question and answer, there's a couple long ones, Ryan.
Oh, good. I love the long ones.
But I don't think any of them that are going to challenge you too much. And I should have taken more time to find some that would challenge you more. First question and answer. And there's a couple of these that would like to remain anonymous, and that's unusual. We don't have a lot of those. I've been a species superintendent at our county fair for the past 17 years. My kids show 3 species at the local, state, and national level. We are no strangers to the show ring, rules, and competition. Our county fair is very small in numbers, but extremely competitive through all species. In order to try to encourage participation and increase numbers, we have very few rules across all species. Ryan, you like that?
I do like this.
Yeah, you like. Great so far, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was recently brought to my attention that a family who participates in our county and the neighboring county has been slandering our county goat superintendent, our county 4-H office, and the goat exhibitors because of our lack of rules, stating that all of the above are crooks and cheaters because of our lack of rules compared to their home county. Mainly disapprove of drenching and muzzling of goats. They've gone as far as complaining to the state 4-H office. I'm appalled to the fact they are calling our exhibitors and kiddos crooks and cheaters because of drenching and muzzling when there are way worse things that they could be doing, and the fact that muzzles and drenching are truly used in the best interest of the goats. How does a person address the situation and attempt to stop this misconception? That was a lot. That was a long read for me.
You're not going to like my answer. And this person, whether it's a he or she's not going to like my answer either. I wouldn't even bother. People like that, there's no changing their attitude or their opinion, and you're not going to be able to silence them. And anything you say or do to these type of people, they're just going to spin it and recreate it into something that you're being rude or whatever. I would, people like that are that far out there that they want to go around and spit venom and bash people and slander people because of drenching and muzzling. There's no changing it. So save your energy and your time for people that there are people out there that have legitimate questions, answers, may be misled by people like this. Save that for those type people, not because you're not going to fix this situation.
I think that's the best answer you've ever given. Perfect. Perfectly stated. When you can't change how that person thinks or looks at something, it is not worth it. Save your energy for those that you can have an impact on. Mm-hmm. Excellent answer. Ryan, the next one, I think we've maybe hit on this at one time. I'm pretty sure we have. Maybe not. My memory is poor. But Dale and Ryan, what are your all's opinion on belt buckles being worn on the hip of the exhibitor? I do not know if this is a Texas lamb and goat thing or if it has a useful value. I find it distracting. Thank you.
I mean, yes, this happens in Texas, but I think it happens anywhere. But I think it's not a fashion statement and it's not there to distract. But I think the whole reason that they're worn on the hip is when they throw their body, their hip, or the front of their bodies into the sheep and goats to brace them. If that buckle is there, that is going to agitate them, cause problems to make the sheep or goat want to withdraw instead of push, and that's why the buckles are worn on the hip. That's what I understand, at least.
I think it's that, and maybe it's become, because of that, maybe it's become a little bit of a fashion statement, but depending on the size of the showman and the size of the animal, there's no question it can become distractive to the animal. Makes perfect sense, Ryan. The next one comes to us.
That's what I understood was, because the first time I saw it, it wasn't distracting to me, but I was like, what's going on here? And then as soon as it was explained to me, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Nope, I agree. The next one comes to us as a topic idea. I don't know that we can make it a full-blown topic, so I threw it into the question and answer.
Mm-hmm.
The Iowa State Fair just announced that they're going to use declared weights for breeding does as well as wethers. I know you have done a show on weights before, but I think an extremely basic step-by-step breakdown for those of us of exhibitors who have only ever showed by age. I am sure I am not the only one. Thank you. Love the show. I've listened to every episode multiple times. So I think what we're getting at here is that they're making a change at Iowa, and more so on the breeding does, and I'm assuming wether dams or commercial does, not the ABGA full blood or percentage does. I'm not sure of that, but I would only make that assumption. Is Ryan, they're going to weigh them now rather than take an age off a piece of paper that somebody wrote down.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Probably won't be a popular answer, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I think there might be make things a little more honest, because again, a topic that Dale does not want to talk about, but is on there, has been on the list for quite a long time.
No, I'm okay with talking about it. We just haven't got to it yet.
Right. Anyway, there is a lot of problems and issues in terms of the dates that we put down on breeding animals. Sometimes people do backdate them, aren't honest, etc. Again, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel here, and I'm not saying that all breeding shows need to change to weights instead of ages, but I understand why you would, and I think the theory behind that is a weight is a weight, and it is what it is at that point in time. And so you're not going to run into a class where the animals are physically weigh a lot different, where you could in a breeding show that's done by age, because I've seen it in every species where there's one or two that are way, way bigger and more mature. There's most of them that are pretty much in line, and then there's a couple that are way, way behind. And so I think I would be my guess that they are trying to make it a more even playing field for everything. Again, I'm not saying that every show should go to this, but I understand it, why they're doing it, and it'll be interesting to see how it's received. But showing by weight or age, I think the same principles go in there. When I judge, it's not about the biggest one, not about the smallest one. It's just about the best quality of the animal. So as far as these people having to change that, I don't think you're changing anything in terms of your preparation for it. Still do all the things you do to have your animal looking the best that you can. You're just showing by weight now.
Exactly. And I think there's a perception, Ryan, that if it's a registered animal or a papered animal that has a birth date, that birth date cannot be manipulated. And everybody listening knows that is incorrect. So more times than not, it's on a wether dam or a commercial side of things where they'll show breeding females by weight, because they're assuming that there are no registration papers, so there's no way to regulate the birth dates or whatever. Well, guess what? It makes no difference whether someone's writing a birth date down for a commercial heifer or doe or whatever it may be versus sending in a registration paper on another animal that was born at the same time. So we're making assumptions there. It's like making the assumption that when we send in information that go into calculating EPDs, that every breeder and every producer is going to send in the honest and accurate birth weight or weaning weight or yearling weight. We are not that naive. I am not that naive. Ryan, are you?
No, I am not.
And I think, and I'm not advocating that we show all of our breeding animals by weight, but you know what? I find the concept very interesting, and we see this in some of the goat and some of the sheep shows, and even some of the commercial gilt shows, non-registered. But just think if we did that, Ryan, and those animals did come in by weight, all of a similar size, I think as a judge, you could really appreciate the quality, and you could talk about maybe this animal is a little more mature and a little stouter, but this one's a little more youthful in their appearance, appears to be just in that maturity pattern that we're excited about 6 months from now, or even going on into a yearling or a 2-year-old. I think it would bring a different mindset, and I think I would enjoy it personally.
I don't think this is going to catch fire or reinvent how stock shows go, but I do not see anything wrong was showing breeding animals by weight. And I mean, the funny thing is, like, a lot of shows still take weights on breeding animals, those bigger shows, and you weigh them when you go into the ring, etc. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Do I think that it's going to change all the problems? No, but I don't think it's going to cause any more problems than it. I do think that if they were all out there by weight, it would be easier to judge all the animals more fairly.
And I think those that are putting down the honest birth dates are at a severe disadvantage right now across species in those breeding animals that are being shown by age. Would you agree with that?
You're not wrong.
And that's a terrible thing to say. Remember, we were talking about we can do better? Wow, right there. And I think the same principle applies. Remember, I talked about some are taking a path that you wouldn't think they normally would and using that as an excuse because everyone else is. What do you think about our breeding animals? Let's use the breeding heifer shows, the junior heifer shows, or open heifer shows. I'm going to be very black and white here. If you do not move the age on those animals, you're going to look like a peanut out there. Would that be close to accurate?
I'm not saying you're misleading people.
Oh, then I want a stronger commitment from you.
I would say that in the majority of cases, you're correct, sir.
Yeah, and again, there are some animals that are dead on their age, and they're big enough in the class and all those things. But there's just too many of them that come in too mature, and I understand if it's born on December 28th that maybe we're going to move that thing to January 2nd or 3rd or something like that. We're not talking about moving them a few days, Ryan. We're talking about months, and it's got to the point where, wow, we have to move them months or we don't have a prayer because everybody else is doing it. I don't like that excuse, but I don't know how to fix it. But this sounds crazy, but showing by weight would probably do just that. And again, I'm not advocating that every breeding cattle show in America needs to show by weight by any means, but it would be really, really interesting if we had the technology to come up with something that would get us to that calf's actual birth weight within a few days, and we could truly show them by their absolute honest age. I think that would be amazing.
Agreed.
Excellent. Well, this was your do's and don'ts. I apologize to you for not doing this one sooner because it was kind of fun and you could kind of bounce around to some different things. But I think the gist of where you and I independently went with this, Ryan, is not specific do's and don'ts in terms of management and so forth, but more so do's and don'ts how to make our industry better, how we can all do better.
Agreed.
Until next week, safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?